Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with the second part of our program. I would like to invite Mr. Munir Faseh to make his keynote speech.
Just a cup of water. Just. Hello, hello. Yeah, it's fine. Shall we start, please?
Give him instructions.
The participants are requested to be seated.
My first comment actually is I'm so happy to be here. I have known many people from Malaysia, but this is the first visit. And the things that I have heard and seen today in Al-Bukhari University gives me hope that it can potentially be part of the healing of higher education in the world. It's a hard path, but it is a path that we cannot afford not to take. And I'm glad that Al-Bukhari University is taking this path. I will say more about this, but I want to move on. Yesterday when I was in Kuala Lumpur airport, the first thing that came to my mind when I got into the building, I had about 4 hours and a half. I thought that somehow, some place in the airport will be selling coconut or coconut milk. And there was nothing. All what I saw is Kit Kat. Kit Kat, everywhere I went, I saw Kit Kat. I don't know what is so wonderful about Kit Kat and why the coconut is missing. I have no explanation other than the role of education in making us value Kit Kat more than the indigenous coconut tree. But then I saw something beautiful on the plane itself, the Malaysian Airlines. On the Malaysian Airlines, the first time in my life, I traveled a lot. Thank you. I traveled a lot. The first time an airline says, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. But I hated ladies and gentlemen. They can call us women and men. Because ladies and gentlemen means there are some people, some women who are not ladies. And then there are some men who are not gentlemen. They are real men and they are real women. So if they say women, men, boys and girls, then that will be covering most of the people that can hear and understand on the plane. The second beautiful thing that I saw was this bag. This bag compared to this. This bag has about 6 zippers. There's no open window. This one has just an open window and no zippers. But that is to me something really that explains the world today. I have to open and close, and there are locks. Here, there's no meaning for a lock. It's two worlds, the modern world and the real world. It reminds me of a most beautiful story by Tagore, the Indian poet and philosopher, about the cage and the nest. If you haven't read it, please read it. This is like the nest. And this is like the cage. And for him, he spoke about the cage and the nest in terms of education. It's a beautiful, beautiful critique in 2 pages about how education basically cares about building building cages and suffocates nests. So this thing that we lose sometimes by gaining something, we have to again rethink about it. About 20 years ago, I heard a man, his name is Alan Bishop, who was teaching geometry at the University of Cambridge in England. I met him actually in South Africa, and he mentioned something which was very, very interesting. He told me a story about going to Aborigines in Australia, in the middle of the desert. Because his interest was geometry, he wanted to know how people perceive space. So he had a friend, an Aborigine friend, so he told him, I want really to visit you. He visited him. The first question he asked this friend was, if you start walking in the desert and you get lost, what do you do? He said, I go back home. He said, yeah, but I mean, if you get lost, what do you do? He said, yes, if I get lost, I go home. So Alan Bishop was really, first didn't understand, but then he understood that the meaning of getting lost in Europe or in the Western modern world, not knowing where you come from, and you don't know where you are going. But for this friend of his, it never meant I don't know where I came from. I know my roots. I know my ways. I know my context. I know my environment. And I think when we talk about indigenous knowledge or about knowledges, this idea of knowledge